Hello, Rodrigo. Hello. So here's our scene from lesson 2. Let me fire up Zbrush and bring my tablet so quickly so I can showcase what. So basically, like we have basic shape. Like if you want to start from scratch, I would select this created rocks. I hope it is here. Yes. Okay, you see here. So this is like procedurally made. Look, we had a cliff also. Cliff here. So this is basically, I think everything is here. So you can rewatch the old one. It's basically we use noise, but you can use height map from Megascale. So what you can do, like you roughly have this shape, right, with noise. You put your displacement map on top of it. You get some rough picture of the cracks. So I always like this. It helps you, not use brain that much if you're starting up, especially. So you get the shape. So you can in there. So basically, you if you have reference, that's perfect. But if you want a generic rock, you can use stencils and displacement map overall applied and just apply on top and then just detail based on that. So I will explain a little bit in that. Okay. So yeah, so this is the basically we made using bunch of noises and everything. You can use this and good enough base. But imagine like we want to make, so just keep it less is fine. Okay. So okay, it's gonna be pain. Okay. So so you first try to get the shapes basically what shapes you need. Okay. So you try to make like have a low poly mesh. So you just move it around and just dynamic it. I will say like I will just roughly make a pokey shape. And it's not like you cannot like later on also you can simply drag and drop and make shapes simply. So imagine like we have a rough shape. We say okay, this is we are happy with it, and then you can subdivide it further and even in Dynamesh will give it a bit more resolution. So this is much more detailed. Now here comes the fun part basically when we need to put more details. So basically you can use flatten also. So you can use flatten and you can make these faces as well. Like you need to create these faces like these type of sharp corners everywhere. And that's like most basic one. Okay. And you can get, and then you have trim dynamic and trim adaptive which does the same thing, kind of making these flat faces, and you can press alt to fill in the some gaps also. So this is basically you try to create all these faces around simply. We just need these low polygon. So like there are these low polygon things. So basically something like that look we need basically surrounding. So but like try to make like some big faces, big surfaces, and then some tiny ones, and some in between stuff like that. So the different faces. So once you have this, and this is you can try print trim adaptive also, but I will transpose brush trim. Why brush T. Yeah, that's cool. Why is trim adaptive? Where they changed it to? Oh, what? I remember. So it's I now adaptive. It should be A transpose. Who cares? Transpose should be TT. I believe that is like much easier, no? Like I again like I won't claim like I'm best at sculpting, but I can just I know when what to get done when to. So this is like the basic there. But then there are some good brushes which are not default, which you can use to do. There are One is trim smooth border. Okay, trim smooth border is same. So it works similarly. You see, so you get much sharper. So you can simply get the faces much more crisp. And then there is orb brushes. If you can, it's free to download. You can find them online. Okay, and then there is orb flatten edges, which is, it will get you this more crisp. It's a bit stylized, but it gets you these, much more better shapes in there. Okay, so once you have these, imagine like these shapes, you just keep playing with that, and you can, alt and fill it as always. Okay, so once you have this, you have these faceted look, you're happy with the overall shapes and in your formation, like see again, like your formations and the type of these faceted areas you have to decide it based on your locality and your references and what type of rocks you are making. Like imagine you are making sand rocks don't have sharper cliffs, they have more roundy shapes. But when you need to get to details, you can use this, but the shapes you have to decide and you have to achieve first before even jumping into the crazy part. You see, it's creating this sharp thing. Now, once you have these faceted look in your, and you feel like, oh yeah, I have healthy balance of large, medium, and small faceted look, you get back to thin smooth border. In alpha, you add square alpha. Okay. Now let's get more crazy. I'm gonna increase the resolution to full. Okay. So it's almost, we are finally in the million crowd. So now if you gonna break, so you're gonna get much more, detail in there. You see, so now you can chip off the layers. Basically you can create, alt click, and you can make the layer, and you can normally, like here I can make and I can break, and I can simply keep making layers if I want. Okay, so basically you get much more fidelity in there. And if I want to fill in, I have again other tool in my dispose also. Don't worry about these squares and everything, so this we can remove afterwards. And one, as I said before, if you don't know how to put, where to put what detail, what you can do, you can, if you have your model unwrapped, if you can just unwrap it. Okay, and then it comes under displacement map, and add a displacement of your rock from Megascan or any online place. Like imagine like I have this, so you can always don't have unwrapping. So basically if I try without breaking it, so let's not waste it. I know it's gonna, you can, what you can do, what, let me just quickly get, okay, so just creating poly groups, so I can simply try to quickly unwrap it. I hope it get quickly. So basically I have downloaded this here. So this is from the same raw catalog. So this is the displacement map we're gonna use to drive some detail. It's really crisp, as you can see. So it's gonna give us a bunch of surface detail, which we don't have to sculpt. We can simply mimic. Mm, would have been easy if you would have, you know, reduced the polygons and did it. So if we want to try while we are here, so I'm open to try it out. Where is the optimal? It's not that thing. So I can apply all. Oh, yes. So it's unwrapped. So I'm gonna import displacement. Okay, and when you can turn, okay. So this actually asks for texture also. We can give it this one just for placeholder. So now you can give it intensity. You see, you get something. It's basically the UV also, like you can scale it and scale it down, but you get something and you can apply and see how much it is. This is because of UV, but when you're gonna bring, you're gonna get much more better. So we can say, okay, point 0.5. It's gonna be much more harsher. Uh, but when you apply, you're gonna get bunch of details. Yeah. So what we can do, like without caring about this, now we have our trim smooth bot already. We can simply let me dynamesh it. We can basically make it a part of it. So without even if it's there, we can. So at this stage, what we have to do now, we have to reduce the detail. Like, there's like a lot of detail now. So you can reduce the intensity, basically keep it less, and you just start smudging the details. Okay, so we don't want to see these micro level details on there. So it's if you have if you know Substance Designer, if you get you can get SBSAR file from the this raw catalog also. Okay, so you can basically reduce the detail there, export the height map again, and just simply that means increase the intensity for this. Okay, so basically it became the so basically it was not optimally made, but again, just to showcase that you can get away with it and you can dynamish, but you have to make sure to settle the details. So you cannot keep this much noise, but you get a stencil basically which you can simply treat it based on that, like here, like you then you make it a smaller, this brush smaller, and then you go into smaller detail. But these all these detail we don't need. So like much calmer surface detail, and you can alt click to fill in the gaps also. Like if you want to make larger damage, you can definitely. Okay, so you will start to get much calmer area. Why? Because we're gonna use tileable texture on top of it. Mostly all the cliff and rocks gonna use the tileable textures, and that gonna help us basically get these micro level detail. Okay, micro to macro level, basically you can call. But what we need is basically you use this as the stencil to drive these unique details basically in there. So some details you want to hold on to, like here you see there are layers, you can hold on to these, but you reduce these micro details and you can keep dynamishing it to reduce it. But when you will look it from a distance, you see these areas are much cleaner. Like imagine like if I do it here. Okay, don't worry about like these looking very flat and without detail, because that's what we want. Because we can use the exact same displacement map, which we have the textures we have downloaded, and use them as tileable. So that way we will have similar looking detail on high larger scale, and similar level details we're gonna have on smaller scale. Okay, so basically this is like basically the quickest way to get the details. Like if you don't have, And even with the blender, like you don't need to sculpt. Like similarly, we use noise to get the different layers and details. You can use displacement map, these maps as displacement map. But the only thing is that again, if you have unwrapped, you're gonna have this type of problem where it's gonna, you know, become exploded. So that you have to fix. But other than that, it's I use this method so many times. Just quickly you can get done with your skull and reduce the detail. You get so many unique details, and you can don't need to use that much of creativity. But again, like if you want to learn how to sculpt from scratch. Yeah. And there is it's a really what we call a dilemma basically, because people have alphas, they have brushes to get all these detail. But if you really want to learn how to sculpt some details, then make everything from scratch. All these detail, try to make it using simple brushes, not alphas, but brushes is fine. If you use a trim smooth border, and there is another one I'll show just in a second. Okay, so just filling up this one, so this become a part of it. And this is basically now we are reducing the detail. You see that we get organic. And if you go to brushes again, and you go to mallet, there is mallet fast. Okay, you can use any mallet fast too, and that also gonna help you with the damages basically. So if I showcase here in this area, you see it have, you know, a lot more damage, like wizard level. You definitely need to reduce the intensity. And so something like or brush which was doing, so we are reducing. And okay, so you get, oh, there is alpha also. So yeah, so something to like trim smooth border to get those, you know, chisel flat faceted look. If you want, it can help definitely to reduce the dip. Again, like I'm doing with the larger brush. So you take the larger one, do the larger surface, and then medium, and then small, but no need to go to macro level, because that again, as I said, you can do it using your tile bed actions. So those, if you're gonna keep it, then it's gonna look noisy. Again, the why we choose to, because it's gonna look noisy, and you cannot control it, because we just need to control the larger level shapes and silhouettes. That's what we need to control in this level. And other than that, like on the smaller level, we want to control it using our textures. Then if we want to more noisy or less noisy, like imagine we want some areas like like this texture had some area have noise, some area have less. So that's the same thing you can control in the texture, like some area you want more, or some area you don't want. So if you have underlining detail, it's gonna clash with it and gonna create much more noisy results, which we don't want. So yeah, so this is basically the quickest way you can basically make any sculpture or anything. And for the people who are watching, you can get your any model. Like imagine, so now you can imagine like this is your asset, like any asset. You just bevel it, subdivide it, bring it, dynamish it, and then you simply so you add damages to it, and then dynamish and bring it back to Unreal to see how it look. So you can, if you want more, you can have more damages like that. Okay, and the basically it's all up to you, like how much damage you want. But basically, it generic damage all over your asset. Basically, you can quickly put, and simply you can don't need to basically dynamize it also decimate it. But you can simply bring it as it is also in Unreal to see how it looks. Just export it and bring it to Unreal and see how it looks. After this, like you are free to, once you have, you know, this and this alphas and everything, you can simply move this alpha from here, and you make it smaller, and you try to smudge these squarey look basically on top of it. See? So this the square look you are getting, so you can reduce it basically by simply smudging it off. So again, we are doing the same thing here. We're adding detail and then we're reducing the detail. Simple. Simply like that. So you get your simple asset detailed basically in there. So I hope this is again, this was quick and showed multiple things. If it's not clear, we can redo it definitely. But I hope this is a slight helpful.